So I don't have to edit it now, so we start the recording again. So when we go live on YouTube, we'll be sad. And obviously on the audio record, I can say motherfucker.
We are live. I'm back. I'm back off holiday. So yeah, I'm back. A little bit rounder, but it's holiday. I'm allowed to get rounder on holiday. This week we've got an amazing episode. We're going to be talking about some bits and pieces from the news. Then we're going to go into some Instagram beef and all the grief we're getting behind the scenes for just being us.
Just brought me on gravy.
So yeah, it's just we're getting a lot of grief for just being us. So without further ado, let's get into the news, Jamie. No, let's get into...
Mate, you've had a fucking week off. What is wrong with you? Like a car crash. First of all, I think you normally do the sponsor reads, don't you?
Let's do the sponsor reads.
Oh, so, that's the wrong thing.
Without further ado, we get onto the number one fuse board manufacturer, in my opinion, Verso Electrical. They do fuse board, socket switches, spurs, and guess where you can buy them? Straight from electricianspod.shop, my very own shop that is brought to you with great discounts, great products, great stock, great availability, great shipping, everything. And today, just as a thank you to my customers, I sent out a voucher to all the customers who have ordered through my website for free shipping on their next website. For all sorts of stuff like that, hit up electricianspod.shop and get your Verso gear from there.
Is it my turn now?
It is.
First of all, just so everyone's aware, yeah, my little lad's got diarrhea. I don't feel great. If I dive off suddenly, you get free shitting. Yeah. But on the good side of that, if you're interested in power quality analyzing and you want to know what power is being used in any application or something crazy like that, CHAUVIN, you're your number one for all that kind of gubbins. If you keep an eye on my Instagram, actually, I did one yesterday where I looked at whether the Verso sockets use any power when they're not plugged in. So what do you reckon they do?
Maybe a little bit.
Well, if you want to know, you'll have to find out. But I assure you that the CHAUVIN new equipment I used proved what I wanted to go out and prove. And if you want to prove a load, disappearing loads, current, kilowatts, amps, all that mad shit you don't really know about of something, they are the people to go and see. Give them a shout or contact them for us. Do you want to do the news now?
So let's go on to the news. What's the first topic this week?
I'm looking. I know we've both not been here for 2 weeks, but I just can't find the news video. And I know you hate if I don't use it. I don't know what's going off. There it is. There we go. The news video. We are very rusty. We was like the two Ronnies, now we're like something else. Are you sure we're on YouTube? I can't see it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, there you go then. First of all, I said it would be an ongoing saga, and it is the MCS thing. So, as you may remember a few weeks back, Octopus says they weren't going to bother anyone to be MCS registered and they were going to pay for your export. As it turns out, it's all a load of arse. I got this email yesterday off Octopus because obviously I signed up for it just to see what the crack was. And they've now put loads of goalposts in place, MCF had a wobbler, you've got to pay them money, and it really does not make it worth it anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a list on there. So now you need to get DNO approval, which you need to do anyway. Your installer done that for you before. I did that myself. I've got my DNO approval, yeah. They also want an electrical installation certificate, which obviously anyone can get. I mean, I'll just write them out anyway for my own stuff. They also weirdly want builder control approval, even though there's no builder control approval, and they want your total install capacity, which isn't a lot of paperwork to provide there. Any reasonably skilled electrical person, Sparky, that's doing that work without being MCS will be able to provide all that. The kicker is your customer's got to pay 250 quid and submit those documents. And if they don't get accepted, they get £150 back. Costs 100 quid to even try, which is a bit of a scam. And you've got to export some serious electricity without an MCS approval, an MCS approved system, just to get your 150 quid back. So it's a bit of a scam, bit of a con.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Because I know quite a few people now, because the feed-in, well, I say feed-in tariff, but the buyback tariff has gone right through the roof. So people making back their money a lot quicker.
The thing is, without the MCS, you don't get the seg payments. You only get 4.1 pence per unit. I think it is. Some might correct me, but it's not a lot. So to make your 150 quid, yeah, with MCS, you get different. You get two different payments basically without going into the boring bit of it. If you go this way, you only get the buying tariff, which I think is 4.5 pence a kilowatt. Don't quote me on the numbers and to time to check, but I'm going to speak to someone who knows and come back with the facts on this next week. But generally, it just seems like MCS want the free electricity, Octopus want the free electricity off you. They sort of get this out as a bit of a sweetener, but it turns out it's a bit of a worm in the apple type situation. So yeah, I'll get back to you on that. What I did quite like about the whole situation, I have enjoyed about the whole situation, is it was interesting how MCS squirm straight away. It was interesting to watch them squirm. And MCS are no different to the NRC and NAPIT. And if the industry got together like Octopus did there, we could make them squirm. So it proves that these people aren't too big to fall, but on the back of it, it's a bit of a wet lettuce, to be honest.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It is. It is. So, but
a lot of people were quite excited about that.
Well, a lot of sparkers should be expired because it would mean that electricians who are competent could do this work without messing around with what is basically a load of MCS stuff.
Do you know what's funny? I was listening to two electricians talk about the virtues of installing a solar panel system, and like the intricacies of installing a solar panel system on a roof isn't to be taken lightly. It's not something that I would recommend, and who am I to recommend? But based on what I've heard and the conversations I've heard, just going and installing solar panels on your roof is a bit dicey. Not just in terms of like safety, but in terms of
liabilities.
Like, what do you know about tiles? Oh, what you read on what you've looked up on YouTube? What, you're an expert, are you? You don't know nothing about tiles. You don't know nothing about ceiling tiles, how roofing systems work, and all that sort of stuff. The different layers and all that. I don't know.
Do you know what? I absolutely agree with you. And do you know what they don't teach on a course? Fuck all about tiles. So all the PV course I see being advertised by every training school and his dog. The one thing that I'm not going to show you on there is anything to do with tiles. They're going to have a shitty little roof. You're going to pull the tiles off, put the brackets on. They'll know about their tiles. And that is the big problem. You've got snow loading, wind loading. As everyone will know, if you listen to this podcast, I put my own solar up on a wall outside. I would not personally put it on my own roof because if it blows off, I don't want to be liable.
Gash on the side of your wall. I bet your neighbours hate you.
I've actually, if I'm totally honest, I meant to finish it off today, but the little lad's ill. But I have got to finish it off because one of the neighbours is like, it looks like shit. I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't finished it yet. He's like, when are you going to finish it? I goes, well, to be honest, I've got no kitchen cupboard doors, and I started the kitchen 15 years ago. So don't hold your breath, mate. You know what I mean? But I am going to finish it now because today it was quite sunny. The other day it weren't. I've still got 2 panels to fit, so I'm basically going to finish it because I want the other 2 panels up there. But yeah,
Nick Bundy's entered the chat and he says, "I use CT1 to stick the panels down."
Do you know what? Probably better than some rail systems, to be honest.
But no, the thing is, we don't really like. You got to remember, putting like roofing is a whole nother trade. Like it's not something you
roofing
just
is a trade, yeah. And there's 2 types of solar stores, yeah. Shit ones and good ones, and I know a few good ones, and I know they get into roofing and find out about it, and they grind all the tiles down and all that kind of stuff. And then I've seen a video this week from someone that's been on the show actually, where he's had the solar installed on, and the proper roofer there don't grind the tiles down, just left a gap, which I always think is ridiculous. You need to know I think slate's the worst. I'm sure some solar install tell me because you've got to put all sorts of gubbins in. Then there's like rubber tiles and all sorts of madness.
We don't know. And guess what? I don't really want to know. I don't know enough about electrical to start knowing about roofing.
I'm pretty happy that I've not set fire to anyone's house because I know I'm doing electrically, yeah. The last thing I want to do is do a bang on solar install, come back and some geezer like, my roof just blown off, or it's leaking, or there's a load of flies in my thing. You know what it's like. So stick to what you know. Always, if in doubt, always consult a qualified roofer. Next one.
I'd say that. Yeah, I'd say that. Go on. Fuck it. This shit again. I can't stand it. Let's all virtue signal about doing the very first thing we was taught at college.
Have you
Safe
finished?
Isolation.
Have you finished? Normally, I would introduce the news before you start going off, especially for audio viewers, so they know what's happening. So it's Safe for September. They do this every year. Andy, Isolate for Life, kicks it off. I think him and Eddie Clements kicked it off a while ago. And it's just September, refreshing everyone's knowledge of safe isolation. And also,
I can't stand it.
Shut your fucking mouth for 30 seconds. So
dumb.
It's not right. Shut your mouth for 30 seconds. Yeah, it's just to remind everyone about safe isolation, refresh yourself. And also, Sam, you knob, it's there because everyone starts college in September if you do a proper apprenticeship. And it's there to symbolise that to all the new people coming in.
You're taught when you go into the workshop, safe isolation.
Yes, but even even me myself, sometimes I get a bit lazy. For example, this weekend in my house, I didn't fucking lock
and you think some internet campaign is going to stop you from being lazy, does it?
Yes.
If that was the case, all the motivational videos I watch to not be fat anymore, I wouldn't be fat tonight. So it's bollocks, isn't it?
It's not. People need reminding.
No, it is.
People need to remind. You are a knob. I think people need to remind. I need to remind sometimes. Sometimes I do something at work and I just think in my little head, I think, you've been a knob. You've got a knife and you cut it the wrong way. Or a little bloke comes in and goes, you haven't isolated properly, have you? And I think, well, I'm in my own house and the door's locked, so I think it's all right.
No,
then sometimes I think, oh, I'm at a massive factory and I haven't done it properly. Or, you know what I mean? People just need a little tickle every now and again. People get complacent. Would you not agree?
Shut up, mate. It's safe isolation. It's the first and last thing you learn when you walk in and out of an electrical installation.
I agree.
And even when you go into college, it's like they spend 2 days telling you about the safe isolation. So boring. You get in, you fuck it up, and then they show you how to do it. I know. It again, and then that's it. And then you don't do it again until you get your first shock. And then once you've got your first shock, then you're like, oh shit, I better get my testers out.
I do agree.
You do it for about 6 months, then you get shocked again. Then you get your testers out again. That's the life of an electrician.
I do agree that first shock is a bit of a rite of passage. Anyone that says they haven't had one is a liar. Anyone that says to do safe isolation 100% of the time is a liar, yeah? Because Sam knows so much about it, what GS38 tester are you using for it, Sam? What's your preference?
Well...
What lock-off kit do you use? What's your preference for lock-off kit?
Lock-off kit. I don't need one right now.
Oh, you're dying about safe isolation, aren't you?
But I don't need one. What do I need a safe isolation kit for?
What if you need to safely isolate something?
But I don't.
What, because you work in houses?
Yeah.
Bullshit. Once when I didn't safe isolate a house, I had some lad go and turn the circuit back on because he wanted to play his Xbox and about blew my apprentice across the room.
I tell everyone, right, I'm turning this circuit off, don't turn it on again. That simple. No one's ever going to turn it on.
The world is full of dickheads and it will happen. But anyway.
I can't stand this conversation. Someone turns it on, they're getting a kick in the nuts.
It's safe for September. Think about your isolation. Think about doing it properly. The longer you get in the trade, the worse it gets. You've got to start off on light circuits. If you didn't do it where I work, you'd be dead in a week. This.
Every time you pick up your testers for safe isolation, your proving unit during Safe for September, this is the noise you're going to make. Oh. Oh. Every time you pick it up, that's all you're going to think of now when you pick up your testers. Oh. Because you're a dork.
You know, the thing is, because you work in house, you're complacent, yeah. But if you got on a power station or like that, somewhere big, and you're working
on power stations,
yeah, and if you work on a 400 amp Star Delta motor, you're going to think twice, aren't you? You're not going to put your hands in there without being isolated.
You turn it off, and then you go and test it, and it's fine. Like, mate, it's just part of what you do. You don't need to be reminded what to do.
You do. You've never. I don't think you've worked in a suitable environment where it's really important, where you're going to be in where you're in a machine with a go off. Anyway, I think we've covered that. And
everybody who's listened to this podcast is now going to pick up their test and go, oh.
That would be quite. Oh, it could be quite good.
Oh.
But yeah, it's important. Don't listen to Sam. He's not very good at safe isolation.
Not very good at anything.
Well, that's why I burp, because they don't like that, and I don't like you slagging off safe isolation. So we get that one out of the way. Thank you, audio viewers. Number 3 on the news.
Well, didn't you? We were just going to talk about this, and you had another bit of news.
Well, we've got some a bit heavier to go on about later, haven't we? So I thought we'd get this in now before we start ranting. But
right, I've got a question about this, right?
Yes.
And I know you've done your due diligence, because that's all you say is, hey, I'm going to do my due diligence, right? You've done
as always. Right?
And this story is a bit of a nothing story, but I am designing a carport for my front garden.
What is it? The 80s? Fucking.
What do you mean?
Carports aren't they an 80s thing? Do people just not have garages now?
No, on the new builds I'm working on, guess what's there? Carports. And guess
what are you doing?
All the carport stuff.
It must be an Essex thing, so you could do your capris up underneath them or something like that. But anyway, I digress.
And I'm thinking of doing the roof in solar panels and putting all my solar panels on the roof of the car, because it'll be a double carport. So that's more than enough to get, say, 8 to 10 panels on, and you can make the roof out of panels. But it's only going to be like 2.5 meters in the air, isn't it? So it's easy to nick them.
Right. I personally, I'm not saying no solar panels get nicked, yeah? Right. I'm not saying that will happen, yeah? But what I'm saying is, how many mirrors get nicked a year? It's like stealing mirrors, isn't it? You've got to get the fucking thing now without breaking it. Then you've got to chuck it in the back of the van. Then you've got to unload it and store it in a warehouse. Then you've got to sell it to someone. No one's realistically nicking solar panels. They're fucking massive. The ones on the side of my ass like a single mattress. And they're quite fragile. They're not like super breakable, but ain't
they're
no
not
one
that
nicking them.
expensive, are they?
They're not
that
like,
expensive.
they're
Like
100 quid. They're 100. The ones on the side of my ass at the price I paid for them. They're 415 watts, about the size of a single mattress, a bit shorter. They're 100 quid. You probably get 30 quid from on the black market. And anyone that buys on the black market, they're going to be fucked. They're probably all smashed up and bent. The cables hanging out of them, all cut off. Just not worth
have no
it.
connector on it, will it?
If someone breaks into a solar farm with a proper decent wagon and can be asked to unscrew them all properly, lift them off, undo the MC4 connectors and stack them on the back of the van, maybe if they're going to use them somewhere else. But general black market Delboy style theft of solar panels, I don't think it's a real problem.
It being a thing. I can't see it being a thing. But I saw this when I was looking at like designing the roof of my carport, and I think that's the way forward. Huh?
I don't think solar panels theft is something people need to worry about, especially if it's a roof, man. No one's going to go up on your roof and nick them, not unless like Spider-Man's skin. My Walmart ones, they've got to get the ladders up. They've got to be there a while, live in a reasonably built up area. If you're on a middle of the nowhere solar farm and the thieves have got absolutely nothing better to do, and I saw them nicking solar panels, I'd walk over, gently tap them on the shoulder and say, lads, you'd be loads better off nicking all the cable. The solar panels aren't going to get it for you. But apparently it's a thing. But I've had a look at this. I found one in Northampton. Basically, someone stole a load of panels in Northampton. I think the people that stole them were a bit thick. They thought they was worth something. And I found one in a house that got done. Although that was in the Daily Mail, and they reckon they stole £7,000 worth of solar panels. So Artisan must have been doing that install, because ain't no one in the UK getting £7,000 worth of panels on the roof unless they use them. But yeah, I don't think it's a thing. I'm just, if anyone's got any gen on this solar panel theft, let me know before Sam does his carport. Or if you have got some stolen solar panels, let Sam know. Is that your child?
It's my child.
Just checking. Let Sam know if you've got some hooky solar panels, because he's doing his carport to do his capri up underneath. But yeah, can you see, honestly though, can you see people nicking solar panels?
Mate, people nick, like, who would have thought nicking catalytic converters was a thing? It's a right faff nicking a catalytic converter.
Yeah, but they are quite, they're about, don't start nicking catalytic converters this year, but you need a grinder. They're 80 quid a pop, I believe. And
you're better off a recip store.
You've got to know someone to take them off you. And they're quite small though. You can chuck under your jacket, can't you?
Yeah, they are smaller. You get about you get over 100 quid, about 150, depending on the time of day. And then you can sing it in the, yeah, I suppose that's a bit of a smash and grab. Like
random
one solar panel that's worth about 25 quid second hand is going to be a right chore, isn't it?
There is a catalytic converter. This is a random story that I thought I'd tell now because I'll never get to tell again. There's a catalytic converter place down your end. And I worked there when I was younger, when I worked for a firm we used to work away a lot. And when you went in there, you had to wear white, the white overalls, the paper ones. You had to wear them. And at the end of the day, you had to stuff them into a bin. And at the end of the year, they'd burn that bin and get all the platinum and gold back out of it and make about 80 grand just off the people's clothes they're wearing. So no. I don't know what's in a cat. I don't know how many quid's worth of precious metals in it, but it does seem like if you've got nothing better to do, you might want to nick them. But I suppose, though, people nick lead off church roofs, don't they? Which must be just as much aggro.
Yeah.
So if you put solar panels on your church roof...
Isn't it? Like, if you had to go and sell lead, you can go and sell that anywhere. Sell it, like, you'd have to nick solar panels to order, first of all.
Yes. And you can't break lead, can you? That I'm aware of.
No, like, you just throw it in, melt it down and take in like a bar of lead and get it sold. You can even take it in as is, just say you stripped it.
Yeah, but a solar panel, if it's got cracks or anything on it, they must be nicked to order and they must know what they're doing. But I can't see a bit of problem for the general amount of people, unless someone in the comments is about to say my roof's empty, or if I go outside now and my solar's gone. But it's a thing. Let us know if you know anything about it.
Indeed.
And that is the end of the news this evening.
Right, so let's get on to a more serious topic.
Hang on.
Right. This, what are you doing?
I don't know. We've not been together for 2 weeks, and I cannot find the VT.
This guy. Right, there we are. Right.
I'm just having a bit of a. Oh, there it is. Sponsor. No, that's us. I've changed one of the buttons. Sorry. Anyway, audio viewers, we're loving this. It's carnage.
Right. So, getting into what's been going on lately. Right. So not last week. Last week I was on holiday. A couple of weeks ago, commented on someone on online about doing a bit of a knock-up job when it comes to making the prongs on a buzz bar safe. Put on a bit of, I don't know, he was stuck. He hadn't got the bits with him, so as a temporary measure, he stuck on some brown sleeving. Right.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I've reviewed all the evidence, and I still think it's a fucking shit idea.
Fucking
Right? So I'm not going to
eh?
move from that. Right. I'm not moving from that. It's a stupid idea. Do I like the guy? Yes, I think he's an awesome electrician. Why am I bringing this up again? Well, it descended into a bit of chaos last time. I had a load of there's a certain group online. I'm not sure. They say we're a closed shop. We're not a closed shop. If you have a subject that you're passionate about and you think you can talk to us for an hour about, you can come on the podcast. You've just got to be passionate, and it's got to be a subject that you can talk about for an hour. Come on the podcast. We're not closed shop. The reason we don't have loads of different people week in, week out on the podcast, and why we have like almost like a revolving door of the same guests, is because those guys bring a conversation, they bring a topic, they have done a podcast before, because there's some very real things when it comes to podcasting that some people get podcast shyness. They can be as chatty and as gobby as you like on the phone. You get them on a podcast, they shut down.
The hardest bit of graft, obviously, Sam's been doing this for a long time. Yeah, he's built it up, and you have developed how to do it. And yeah, I come in a year ago to an already established podcast, yeah, and the hardest thing for us is getting guests. It is a constant WhatsApp chit chat in the background, week in, week out for us to get guests.
And a lot of guests will pull out at last minute.
Pull out, not come on, let us down. People panic, yeah. We are always, I personally, I know Sam as well, I'm always on social media, following people, keeping an eye on people, looking at the content they put up, see if they could come on here, getting into conversation with them, saying, do you want to come on the podcast? What do you want to talk about? I think of last year, who we brought on last year? Jay, we had Jay Spark on. He's gone down really well. I can't think of the others, but it's not a lot for a year's work, is what we're saying. So it's not a closed shop. We are constantly in this revolving door for this kind of content.
So moving on to the next part of this conversation is there's a group of people don't like us. That's fair enough. I don't like everyone. I don't expect everyone to like me.
It's not one group for me. It's not just one group for me, I'm afraid. There's more than that. But this one group don't like me on the podcast.
I've done a lot of snidey things behind the scene in my time. I made a lot of mistakes, man. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of shit. And I've, just made a lot of mistakes behind the scenes. And that is what it is. And, I can't change that now. All I can do is try and be better every time I do a podcast. And every time I create a relationship with someone, I try and be a better person. Now, that brings me on to this. People are running around behind the scenes complaining about the podcast to get other people to complain about the podcast so as we lose sponsors. Let's just make this, let me just lay this gambit out to you people who are doing this with Verso and CHAUVIN and our sponsors. I tell you now, and I promise you that no matter what happens, the podcast won't go away. So if you was lucky enough to make Verso go away and CHAUVIN, we'd still be here week in, week out. If I had one viewer left, I wouldn't sack Jamie. So, because this is Jamie's podcast as much as it is mine now. And there is no win for you and doing this. There's no win. It's simply not going to happen. And I don't want to do a podcast on this topic. It is pathetic, and I can't believe I'm drawn into it, but it needs addressing. There is no win scenario for you. Okay, if I lose all my sponsors, I go full retard on you, and I will go full, and then I'll be calling people out, and it'll be a no barred thing. I don't want to do that. I like to. All you're doing is listening to two idiots, self-proclaimed idiots, talking every week on the podcast about the things that we love within the industry. Sometimes things get mentioned, and when you're doing 52 hours a year of off the cuff conversation. Some of it will be pre-recorded and stuff like that. Not pre-recorded, but will be discussed beforehand. But generally, 95% of our conversation is off the cuff. And when you do that, you will make mistakes, and you will make content that offends, and you'll make content that isn't representative of maybe the industry you want to see. And that is just part and parcel of what we do. And I am not apologizing for what we do. We do it the best we can every week, week in, week out. And we bring the show for the people who like watching it. If you don't like watching it, guess what? Don't watch it.
It's that easy.
If I had one listener, I would still do the same thing every week. I'd pick up my microphone, the same microphone I've had for 4 years, and do it on the same camera and talk to the same people, and hopefully new people will come along. I don't care what you do behind the scenes. Take away our sponsors. Try and get Jamie cancelled. It won't make a difference.
It's the fact that the cancel culture thing's got involved this week. It's just bonkers, yeah. For a start, I'll put my bit on the side. Now you done yours, yeah. I don't take anyone off this podcast. I don't get paid, right? None of the sponsor money makes it to me, right? So far on this podcast, I've had people contact the sponsors about me. People contact me, the company I work for, about me. People try and contact the company I own about me. So I've had people email my own limited company that I own, that the email comes to me trying to complain about me, yeah? The simple fact is, I couldn't give a fuck who you contact. I couldn't give a shit. If you're that much of a fanny, you can't stand the banter. One, you shouldn't be on a building site. You're probably a 5-day bore in the bag spark. And two, don't listen to the podcast if you get that upset about it. As well as that.
Let me just say this about these people going after our sponsors, right? Okay. It's very simple. I'm not going to disclose the amount we make from each sponsors, but it's not a massive amount, but it's not chump change. Okay. And we make that because of our network of people who listen, and there's a value to that. So we sell the value of our listeners listening to our podcast. And most of that goes towards buying new stuff, like just bought a new bit for my computer, all these little bits and pieces, the subscriptions and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes paid for by the podcast. That does leave a fair chunk. And Jamie don't want none of it. So I have it, right? So if I need to buy a new microphone, it's there. But also, if I need to, I don't know, pay for ballet for a year for my child, and I've got a bit of extra cash in the pot, that goes on ballet. So effectively, you people that are going after the sponsors, it doesn't bother me because I've done the show without sponsors, and I could make money, and I'm now make money away from the show, so I don't really need to worry about it. But effectively, you're tool thieves. You're the same class as tool thieves, because you're taking a tradesman's ability to make money away from his family. You need to sort your lives out. You're tool thieves. You're no better than tool thieves.
You're right.
It's pathetic.
The thing is, right, recently in the trade, right, yeah, it was always like fisticuffs at the door when I started. Nowadays, people like try and pull this cancel shit on. I'm old school, yeah. I say words I probably shouldn't say anymore because it's not cool, but that's how I was brought up. And I just don't know why people do it, yeah. We've got a complaints department. Just bell us up. Instagram, tell us what your problem is. If I'm watching Coronation Street and I don't like the plot line, I don't go and fucking complain to We Buy Any Car because they advertise it, do I? Yeah. You just think you're being clever fucking fandangos going to the sponsors. Don't know what it is. Also, one person, which I'm going to fucking this out, yeah? Tile Electrical. You better respond to a GDPR request because using your company's social media online, you called me a sexist the other day. I just won't stand for it. Yeah, I'm going to go full retail on that because that's not a person, that's a company doing that. So if you think you're going to sneak on Instagram, using your company's Instagram to give me a fucking hard time, I'm going to fuck you about to IL. And just as simple as that as well while we're at it, yeah? Anyone that wants to fucking call me a cunt or whatever, I don't give a fuck. But if you're going to start calling me a sexist online or that kind of thing, I'm gonna take it up on myself to do something about it. So yeah, but we do. It's a fucking boring podcast, isn't it?
This show has supported women in the trade since day one. One of our first podcast hosts was Amy the Spark. Then it was Kimmy the Spark. Then it was Summer Sparkette. We've had Lizzie, who's in the chat right now. We've had a number of different women. I've done a spin-off podcast that was just about mental health and women in the trade and stuff like that, in the trades. So I've done multiple trades.
Just to clarify what happened there, so someone said something about the show being sexist online. So I then started just being sexist as a joke to appease them and just be stupid about it. They then screenshotted it, and sent it to people, but obviously created a little panazz around it. Yeah. If you want to be silly fuckers, we can all be silly fuckers, can't we? And one thing I'm going to say is, yeah, this is the only independent podcast for electricians by electricians going. Yeah, that's it. We are sponsored. There's money there. But for example, CHAUVIN and Verso and that, we don't have to say we like all their products. We're not paying it. Yeah. We're just Sparkies being Sparkies. We're not media savvy and all that. You know what I mean? Like eFix will tell you a dead dog's great if you pay them enough money, which is what they do there and advertise. They don't make any secret of it. Yeah, we're here telling you what we think about the trade from our point of view, week in, week out. That's all we're doing. If you're getting upset about it, you've probably got a big man minge or something, but you never know, do you?
Here we go.
Yeah, I don't want to go into a mad rant, but like, fucking hell. Oh, I'm offended. I listened to the Electricians Podcast and I was offended. Well, fuck off then. Fuck off and listen to the fucking fire ranger.
I don't care anymore. I've paid some mind to it. I had 2 days of my holiday interrupted with calls from different people phoning me up, moaning, come on the show and debate. That is my open thing. Bring a topic and anyone is welcome. If you come on here and you choke, it's still going out anyway. So you're going to look like a bit of a bell. So what I'm saying is come on the podcast. We're not here to argue with people. We love a good
technical argument.
A good intelligent debate is great. Like I'm all for it. And you can challenge us on our views, no problem.
A few years ago, does anyone remember voltage optimizers came out where it would optimize your voltage to always be 230 volt? And I remember being quite. I was on the IT forum at the time. Says, what a load of old shit. They were a load of old shit. And there were people on there fucking telling me how wrong I was and fucking they're going to be the next big thing. Every house is going to have one and people trying to sell them. Yeah. Where are they now? Fucking nowhere. But I've also been wrong about things. And what people need to remember is, or some people need to remember is, we come on here, I do especially, I'll plant my flag technically and I'll go, I'm going to look at this, do my due diligence, and I'm going to go, right, my opinion, this is this. And it's going to be tough to change it, but I'll argue it technically. Some people just get upset because you've slagged off a product they use, you slagged off a method they used. Social media is a two-way street. If you're going to put stuff on the internet, sometimes you've got to accept that you're going to get a bit of flack for it, and people do. And people put stuff on the internet as wrong, don't like being told it's wrong. Some people put stuff on the internet as wrong, and then listen to feedback and change the way they do stuff. That's what it is, isn't it?
I do have an ego, I wouldn't do this, but I don't have an ego that's going to argue like is going to be a hill I'm going to die on. Like if you can come on here and tell me why I'm wrong and show me I'm wrong, then I'm going to be like, oh nice, I've learned something. Outside of that, I'm not interested. And don't just sit on Instagram moaning at me. Boring.
Technically, you've got to have arguments technically, otherwise nothing would change in the trade. I did actually get fucking corrected the other day on Twitter by some clever bastard. I thought absolutely positive. Yeah, I'd bet my fucking ass on it that street lighting was outside the scope of BS 7671. Absolutely would have put money on it. Guess what? It's fucking not. And 3 comments in had to back down and say, yep, I fucking just looked and I'm totally wrong. Like it's not something I'm not afraid to back down when I'm wrong, but you can't just go, you're wrong. Why am I wrong? Because you are.
I want to shout out to Alan Chan. Folks still think that eFix April Fool's joke is the truth. Do you know what? That's funny because someone on the
which one's that? Which one?
The one where they said about the twin and earth is going to becoming twin and sleeved earth.
They did another one, didn't they? Do a golf one?
I don't know, but
what was the one they did for the IET? Someone up behind the comments. They did something about the regs or something. It went down really badly. Like people.
I think that was the earth, like the naked earth is going to have insulation on it. It's a new reg come out.
No, they did another one. They definitely did another one, and the IET got real bragging about it.
Someone on site was trying to get all technical with me. I was like, "You do realise that is a April Fool's joke?" He's like, "No way," and I was like, "Trust me, it's April Fool's joke." But let's have a look at the comments, see what people are saying in here this week. We got Azuri Electrical, big shout out to my #1 customer.
The IET did a PR release on it as well. Yeah, well, did they say it was going to be in the regs or something like that?
They did, yeah.
They said it was going to be a new regulation, and everyone got really excited about it. The
problem is, Sparky's here.
We'll sit there and try and come up with like the Christmas advert started. Like I don't know if anyone noticed the holidays on today. I've started doing the Christmas advert. It's fucking August. We'll try and do something for April Fool's Day. I'm always starting to think about, yeah. These things get thought about well in advance. The problem is, because we're such a pair of twats, it's really hard to come up with stuff because we twats anyway.
Hey, but bruv, don't talk to me about Christmas before
The holiday was
fireworks
on.
night.
The holiday was on today. The holiday was on. It's Christmas. That's it. It's official.
No.
Mate, they've got a fucking.
I don't talk about Christmas until after
Mate, there's a
night.
Christmas Isle in Morrison's now. You can't go away from it. It's Christmas now.
I don't talk about it.
Until when?
5th of November.
No. Christmas Isle in Morrison's, mate. You take your kids down there, they're like that. Get some mince pies. No. Does anyone have a Christmas? Does anyone else have a Christmas? Oh, you used to have a Christmas cupboard at home. That would start being purchased now.
Yeah.
Fucking
No.
dog shit.
Right, go on. What's new?
What? Apart from it being Christmas?
What's new in the industry? I've been on holiday for 10 days in the stinking Devonshire countryside where it pissed down with rain all week.
Well, first of all, yeah, it's
How about
slow.
less of a tan.
What I've not experienced this podcast before is because I probably this time last year was all fresh and new, and we had loads to talk about. Is what I've noticed on the general things. It's quiet in it. People on holiday. People like we've been on holiday. It's so slow in the trades. The electrical news isn't there. There's nothing fucking happening.
There ain't really.
It's just dry as a bone. I think traditionally as well, it's like a quiet time of year for anything like advertising, job starting. No one wants to finish a job at the minute. It just is how it is. The only thing I had really excited me at work was someone at work ran me to say they've had 8 sparkies round who've let them down or bodged up their house. Can I recommend anyone? Which I thought was an incredible number of sparkies around your house to fuck stuff
See, now I'm back. I've got to chase up a load of work that I quoted, and they knew I was on holiday, so I've got to chase it up tomorrow. So I've got. Excuse me, I'm tired today. I've got a fair bit of chasing up to do this week. I've got a fair bit of work to do this week already, so I'm booked in to do a week's work already. It's non-stop, mate. It's non-stop. Everything's going I'm actually a little bit worried that for the first time in many years I'm quite okay.
What do you mean you're quite okay? You're still massive.
I'm quite okay.
You're gonna get heart disease.
No, everything's sweet. Like, I'm not hurting for money. I know where my next pound note's coming from. Everything's sweet.
I've heard my firm, because I work for someone, but also have a firm on the side, is skint because football's not been on. So like I have outgoings. I have I have a unit I rent. I have test gear and insurance, all that kind of thing. Insurance is quite a lot. Say I probably pump about less than 200 hours a year into the company. But because the football's been off, that's a good bread and butter line for me doing the matches. And I just hadn't had any work come in for like 3 months because no one in industrial production gets anything done at this time of year. It's bonkers. So I've been dry as a bone, to be honest. But
I wonder if that's a little bit more symptomatic of the economy at the moment, because a lot of people are saying things are drying up. The housing market's plummeted.
The housing market is dead. Where I live, it's very houses shift around here, and this house has been up here for sale for ages.
And so a lot of people are staying where they are and doing DIY.
If people don't move, there's a massive kitchens don't get fitted. Because when you move house, don't people have a new kitchen, new bathroom, do up the living room, don't they? Put some garden.
I've only ever rented houses, and then we bought the house we was renting.
I avoid moving house because, I think generally when people move, they have the new kitchen, new bathroom, do up the living room, put some garden lights in, all the sparkies bits. And the housing market is barren. Production-wise, I was quite busy in March and April on my own. Believe it or not, in March and April, I think it's March, April and May is when they print all the packaging for Christmas stuff. So a couple of people do stuff like that were busy. But in summer this year, I've been absolutely dead on the side, although work's been busy, so I can't complain. I'm sure people are putting in their thing in the chat. Builders near me laying people off.
Yeah, house builders are laying people off because they can't sell the houses they've already built. It's funny. So I'm working on a house building project next week, and I know they've not had any work for a week because they can't. They're struggling to fund the next chapter of the house building project because they're not selling the other houses. They've got about 15, 20 houses already built. Only about 5 or 6 of them are sold.
I'm really interested in the sites. I'm really interested in the sites because there's a site on the road from me, it was a Miller site. It's all been finished for about a year. There's 5 arse on there up for sale. There's 5 boards outside. I'm guessing they moved in now. They can't afford it. There's a big, massive development going off near me in a place called Burton Joyce. It's like, I think there's 6 phases. Obviously, they don't finish tarmac in the roads, do they? They leave piles of shit everywhere. And it seems like the buildings are cleared out from there because they can't move them, can they? If they can't sell the next phase, they can't start it. And it's interesting to look at these sites because then you drive past and go, well, where are all the vans? All the cabbage is still there, but there's no vans. You know they're slowing it right down.
They're like just digging holes and laying the roadway and stuff like that. That's all they're really doing, putting in infrastructure rather than building the houses at the moment.
And then obviously that affects brick manufacturers, drainage manufacturers, building wholesalers, all the lot. It all trickles downhill. So once they start slowing off,
builders my way are laying the foundations to meet planning permissions and then fencing the site off and leaving. That's mad. That is mad.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, if you start a build, it counts as being started. You never lose plan. So I think once you put planning, you get 5 years. So when I did my extension, I dug the drive up, dug the footings, put the concrete in, and then I just left it for about a year before I started it. So that's I do see them doing that a lot. I think a couple of the big house builders will go bust, to be honest.
I can't see how they don't.
No.
It's probably because of the mortgage rates going up, though, isn't it? Because they've gone up so ridiculous. A lot of people are hurting. I know a few people are like, goes up anymore, I'm going to be finished.
There's one near me. It's a persimmon one, who I think allegedly one of the shittest ones. And what I've noticed is, you know, when you're making, I don't know if anyone's ever done production, but when you're making a lot of something, it really pays to streamline how you do it, because it just does. So if you're making, I don't know, cardboard box and you can save 6 inches of tape, after 100 boxes, you save a whole roll of tape. And I've noticed on the persimmon houses, and if anyone else knows this, you know, you have a window and you have a lintel above the window and some brickwork above the window. Have you noticed that the persimmon houses, that the windows on the top floor meet the roof? So there's no bricks or lintel above them.
No way.
Yeah, so if you look at the house, you've got a house with a door with the lintels, then you've got the upstairs windows and they meet, is it the soffit? They'll meet the soffit, because then you're saving 6 lintels a house, 6 bits of brickwork house. But it's a great way of saving money. Do you know what? They look absolutely fucking shite, but it's a clever way of cutting costs.
There's a guy in here, I don't know what he's called. They're on commercial EV installs and can't keep up at the minute. Yeah, but that's because it's easy, isn't it? Like, it's easy. It's probably some sort of grant for the commercial ones, so everyone's doing it, and it can just be slung in.
Without giving too much away, there's some big generators that people build, and they put EV on them or solar that does like 1% of the job. Often, for example, Aldi will go, oh, we want to build a store and we're going to put 50 EV chargers in the car park. And that's because that gives them all the green points to get the planning through. And you can bet your arse, 6 months' time, none of them EV chargers are fucking working. Apart from the ones on the motorway services where they make good money, I think.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, they get the green points.
What else are we going to talk about? I've been out for 10 days. I've kind of relied on you to bring the heat, bruv. We've already covered off everyone.
It's literally like we could coax some more people off. You know,
why don't you get out what you're showing me before?
No, we've done that, haven't we? We'll save that for another time. Do you want to?
Who cares?
Oh, don't the haters in. Someone sent me this.
Let's talk about it. You've got one in your hand. Someone
sent me this week. I've done an Instagram story on it. It's has anyone recognised this? This is I can't do quotation marks because I'm holding it, but this is an outdoor fuse board that someone sent me.
What, like from here, it looks all right. It doesn't look like it.
It's die-cast aluminium. It's quite a solid build, you know what I mean? There's nothing inherently wrong with it if it's using the right environment. I don't know if you remember, but fuse boards used to be plastic, so it's certainly more robust than a plastic one. However, the way these are marketed to be external fuse boards, I disagree with them. So on Sunday, we're doing some testing with this. There's a little, I've got a little. What I'm going to do is on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should do because I'm fucking brilliant. What I'm going to do this outdoor fuse board by generic manufacturers, I'm going to put some data logging equipment in it, and then I'm putting a webcam on it. I'm going to stream this fuse board bolted to the wall outside my house 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And on the video stream will be the internal temperature, the external temperature, the internal humidity, the internal moisture level, and the outdoor moisture level. So, and every time the values go below what the operational capacity of the breakers are, it's going to automatically take a picture and post it to my Instagram. And I'm just doing that for a little project on the side. because I've like say technically.
Why? Because your name's Jamie and you have to do stupid shit all the time.
No, because people would think that, wouldn't they? But what I said I don't think they're suitable for the outdoor environment, and I think the regs are going to reflect it at some point, yeah. And I said I don't think they can meet the temperature requirements or the humidity requirements. People tell me I'm wrong, so I was like, I'll do. I'll actually put some temperature and sensing in there because that's my job, and I'll just do it like that. So every time that goes below the temperature of the breaker operating in winter, it'll post a picture of it to my Instagram.
Does it feel as robust? Does it feel as robust as you thought it wouldn't feel?
I didn't. Right, for a start, I've never said these aren't robust, yeah? It's solid. It's good. It's a good bit of kit. And there's nothing wrong with this in certain environments, yeah? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it as an enclosure.
Are you changing the tune, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm not. It's people think you say stuff when you don't, yeah? There's nothing wrong with this product if it's used in the right environment. I personally don't think it's suitable for outdoor use. For a start, it's aluminium, so it's a big fucking heat sink, so it's going to let the heat out and the cold in. And I'm genuinely interested. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I look like a right twat, but I want to know what the temperature of this is in winter. And will those breakers and that RCD operate during cold spells this winter? And I'm going to find out with science. So yeah, keep me on Instagram for that and the live stream. But technically, into it, that's technical arguing. Someone says no, it's fine. I'm gonna see if it is. I'm not saying I'm going to prove it wrong.
You might prove yourself wrong.
I might prove myself wrong, and that's the reason I'm going to stream it, because then the people that say I'm wrong, they can grab a data too, and they can come on here and tell me what a dick I was, and I'll just have to leave, and I don't know. I have to leave and fit EV chargers for a living or solar or something like that. That's a piece of piss. So I could go and do that. What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing? Are you doing something similar? You got a similar experiment on the go, or is that it?
What do you think I'm doing with that? Not caring one bit. Couldn't give a shit about them fuse boards. Don't care at all. Not interested.
It's not the fuse board. It's not for a start as well, right? Because people it's not the fuse board I've got the problem with, or the manufacturer. It's the concept I've got a problem with. For years and years and years, the regs have been there, and things have come along like EV, battery storage. These are all new concepts that get applied to the regs. And I always, for 10 years, have commented on the draft of public comments to get my opinions on the regulations. And when they come around this time, I'll be giving my opinion on people just slamming in stuff like this and the way it's going with this. I think we should still adopt the sub-main system, centrally fed, and that should be part of the regulations. But there's things that come along now and again that can lead the regs down a dangerous path. And I think, personally, this is one of them.
Why the fuck have you got a jar of Marmite behind you?
That's been there for months.
Why have you got a jar of Marmite behind you?
Think about it.
It's so pathetic. You're quite pathetic about
There's
things
loads
sometimes.
of Easter eggs in the set. You've actually noticed one, haven't you? There's quite a few bits and bobs hidden in the set, but no one notices.
What is wrong with you? What I was going to say is, Mark says, when is Sam moving into the new studio? Well, it's coming. It's coming very soon. Very soon. I've got to get some artwork made for it and stuff, and then I'll be moving in there.
You buying a new microphone?
Huh?
You're gonna get a decent mic.
Got a whole load of new kit coming. Whole load of new kit.
See, that's why I let him have the podcast money, you see, because he can go out and buy himself a new microphone. Then you'll be able to hear what it sounds like. You're gonna get one
this
like
microphone's this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but your microphone's crap. Yours is a Gash poor boy's microphone.
It's
I'm getting
Rode.
Yeah, but Shure podcast mics are the one.
Yeah, if you want to sit there with the microphone in front of your face, I don't like being restricted, like do hand gestures like this.
Well, it's a podcast. It's not a TV show, bro.
Well, we're fucking on TV now, you daft dick, every Sunday live.
Yeah, but it's a podcast.
But what the fucking hell are we doing on video then? I have to do my hair and makeup for 2 hours for this show every week.
And what you didn't, mate. I'll tell you that much. Right, let's cut this one short tonight. It is a short one. Everyone's back to school tomorrow. I'm back to work tomorrow. That's pissed me right off.
Well, what we could do is we could ask the audience for if anyone's got any, because we've said this thing about if anyone's got anything they want to see on the podcast, anyone they want to see on the podcast, any things they want discussed on the podcast, any ideas. Well, I'm doing it now as part of a conversation. But now just gone rah, 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 rah. But it's a slow news week. There's not much happening. We'll get into winter that. But if anyone's got anything they want to put in, we'd like to have some specialist trades on again. We haven't done that for a while. If anyone's got the water spark is always in here, isn't he? And I follow him on Instagram. I know he does water shit, Why don't you stop lingering in the comments, Water Sparking? Come on in and tell us what it's like to be a
Yeah,
water
stop being a lingerer, you
Don't,
weirdo.
are you a lingerer or are you a fingerer? So get in here and tell us what's off. If anyone does anything like that, wants to come on, tell us about their fucking career, something weird they do, blah blah blah. Send me a message on Instagram or don't send someone who would probably just not ignore you.
I will not reply.
Send me a message on Instagram so I know you're there, so I can follow you, so I get into a conversation with you, have a chit chat with you, and get you on. Because we're always looking for new stuff. As Sam said earlier, we're doing 52 hours of this stuff a year, and it's not easy to put 1 hour content together to entertain you in a van on a Monday morning if you don't come and give us some tips and tops.
Yeah, here's some questions. Sure are the 100%. Yes, they are. The SM75B is a great microphone for a studio, but there is another Shure microphone that is just for podcasting. Is the one I'm going to get. Jamie, what's your opinion on USB sockets?
Well, funnily enough, I've just did an Instagram story like this today. I took a tell you about that, actually. It's going to be on YouTube next week. I got sent some stuff by Verso, which has just been used for set dressing, which is in these boxes. They sent me an RCD, which I used for this. If anyone remembers that RCD thing I did, the tripping RCD. And yesterday, because my missus works from home, I actually wanted to put a socket on the back of our kitchen so she could plug a laptop in, a screen, and have a USB socket for the charging iPods and shit. And I was like, oh, Verso has sent me one. Now, I did think it's a bit unfair to use it without some sort of test going on with it. You know what I mean? Because we're coming in and say it's good.
Mine.
You what?
I already got mine installed.
Yeah, but I did some testing. So what I did was combine the sponsors. I was particularly interested. Well, I know I weren't actually. Here's the top. Here's the front. Yeah, you know a hand dryer in a toilet. What's that fed from?
A spur.
What about a water heater?
Spur.
And all those things, all those fixed items of current using equipment are fed from spurs, aren't they?
Yeah.
So an USB socket is a fixed item of current using equipment. So I think it should be fed from a spur. So if you're out and that RCD socket goes pop, your kid rams a matchstick in the front of it or something, or a fork, and it goes shit up, your sockets are going to trip off and your missus can't do fuck all about it.
I don't think they're like that. I think they're constructed differently.
I don't know. I'm interested to know.
When you look at a spur, right? It's pretty basic, isn't it? It's pretty basic.
But it switches live and neutral. So that means anything on the side of it that gets the fork jammed into it, you could turn it off. Otherwise, you're at work one day, you're missing.
I reckon the components in the USB side of the socket would burn out way quicker.
But when they burn out, that's when you got a problem, isn't it?
No, because I bet they burn across the terminals and you don't get no current through it whatsoever. And the current you're only ever going to get 12 volts to that point. It's not going to. It's not going to burn out, and you're going to get fucking.
Oh no, I'm not saying the USB port will go wrong. What I'm saying is the transformer goes wrong and starts tripping your electric, and you can't get rid of it without an electrician coming round.
Yeah, but you should have an electrician come out to move any socket. What are you talking about?
Well, what I'm saying is if it starts tripping out, you've got to wait for electricity to come around. By that time, your fridge might have defrosted. There's no way of isolating it. It's fixed current using equipment. It requires an isolator, in my opinion.
Just run an extension lead to the fridge, you'll be sweet.
Yeah, but not easy as that. But yeah, I actually tested the long and short is I tested the Verso one yesterday with my CHAUVIN ARNOUX power meter.
Yesterday.
And the good news is, independently tested without Will getting involved, although he did come back to me with some information. When there's nothing plugged into them, they use nothing, which they didn't used to do. So that's quite good. They're intelligent enough to know something's been shoved in them, and the electronics fire up. Whether some of those electronics are still live within your walls, I do not know, but I'm interested to find out. So I think, again, I was on about this a minute ago. I think the regs, the next edition, will have to start mentioning USB sockets as a thing, because they are a thing. So it's time now. They're not a fad. They've got in. They've become a thing. They're not going away. The regs need to recognise that they are a thing now.
Here's the thing about USB sockets, right? Remember, I sell them, so I'm not against them, but I do wonder, right? If you plug in your phone into one, you probably shouldn't be doing that, because your phone costs £1,000.
Mm-hmm.
You should be using a charger that come with your phone, right or wrong.
And this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to use one. Right now, the Verso one, I spoke to Will, and I think I haven't cracked one open, and I don't know enough about electric power supply to say whether it's good or not. Yeah, The one video I would always port everyone to is Big Clive on YouTube takes apart an IKEA one, yeah, and he's a bit of an electronics guru, yeah, and he's absolutely going on about how exciting this power supply is, this USB power supply. It's got all the right protections, everything, yeah, and they are highly rated. So I use IKEA ones in my house, and I use the official Apple one, the official Samsung one. I don't allow any cheap USB charge in my house because they will cook your electronics. They will fuck your phone. I've not dismantled any USB sockets, and I would not know where to look, but I did some tests on the Verso one, and the little test I've got said it was all dead good. It was the right current, right amps. But I think I've got to say, no matter what manufacturer it is, if you plug your phone into a USB power outlet, you are taking a risk because you do not know the contents of it.
And you can't, yeah, and here's the thing, you can't have you can have quality control across your products, but there might be 1 out of 1 million that fucks up, and you plug your phone into it and blows it up in your hand. You'd be fumed, because if you go back to Apple and say, oh look, I plugged this in and it blew up, they're like, what did you plug it into again? Oh, I plugged it into a USB socket. Yeah, no, we ain't replacing that. And you should have known better.
I've said this on the podcast before, yeah. I'll just say this now for everyone to listen to, yeah. You can buy USB leads that have got voltage in and data in. So the one that comes with your phone's got voltage and data. When you plug into your computer, it says, oh, you've connected an iPhone, whatever, yeah. You can buy either blocking plugs or leads that have only got the voltage in, yeah. Never plug your mobile phone or any USB device into a USB socket or transformer or anything that you don't have the control over. So don't go into like Shell petrol station, plug your USB phone in. It is so simple to swap that socket for a USB port that can hack into your phone, take away data. Never plug in unless it's your own adapter, your own power supply, and your own lead, because hijacking people's phones and data from USB ports is a thing in industry. Personally, you're not allowed to do it at work.
Agreed. Right. This week we are out. I'm still tired from my holiday. Don't know why, like I'm jet lagged or something. I'm not. Electricians Podcast, we are out.
Well, I'd love to see someone moan about that fucker.